Hi, so this is the one that I did yesterday, and then I managed to delete it this morning, so I'm going to try and recreate it to the best of my ability. There were some things I wanted to sort of catch up on and tie up some loose ends. One of the things is that dream work. Okay, so one of the simplest things you can do to get lucid dreaming started is just start remembering your dreams. Forget about lucid, just try to remember your dreams if you're not already remembering them. If you are, that's great. You can skip this step, but otherwise I would start with, I will remember my dreams when I wake up. And I would say that 3 times right before you go to sleep at night. And you can say it more than 3 times, but at least 3 times, I will remember my dreams when I wake up. Just start there. And like I said before, when you wake up and you remember a dream, no matter how insignificant it seems or silly or pointless or confusing, just write down a sentence or two about it. Or more. If you want to write a paragraph, great, or a page. But at least a sentence. And that will help you to start remembering your dreams. Those 2 things. All right, so now once you've gotten to where you're actually remembering your dreams, what you want to do is say, I will remember my dreams. I will wake up in my dreams. I will stay awake in my dreams. And I will remember them when I wake up. So basically, I will wake up in my dreams. I will stay awake in my dreams. And I will remember them when I wake up. Say those 3 sentences 3 times, one after another, and do that very least 3 times. And that right before you go to sleep, and that will help you to start remembering your dreams and starting to have lucid dreams. Now, the interesting thing about lucid dreaming is, I think I mentioned this last time, but I may not have, is that you can actually develop a skill. There are athletes that want to improve their skills. I wish I'd known about this when I was in high school. I played tennis, and I would have used it to improve my tennis game. Because you can actually, once you lucid dreaming, you say, okay, I'm going to play tennis now. And I'm going to get better at it. I'm going to see what I'm doing not so good and how to improve. You can also, and this I've done, this is quite amazing, and this is one of the things you want to strive for eventually. You can meditate while you're dreaming. Wake up, oh my God, this is a dream. Test it out, for sure it's a lucid dream. And then sit down and meditate. It's mind-blowing. It's 1, just the experience of doing it is mind-blowing. But 2, if you can get to a point where you can do that on a regular basis, then you can no longer say, I don't have time to meditate. Because you can just do it while you're sleeping. And it works. It's amazing. All right, so that was the first thing, was to talk about lucid dreams. All right. The next thing I want to talk about was demoing a sigil. All right, so I want to actually do that for you so that you can see it, in case anybody was confused. So your sentence is, wrong, sorry. I'm doing 2 things at once. I'm ahead of myself. And going with the statement or the question that I talked about last time, how did I get to have, or how did I get this great job? How did I get this great job? Just do that. How did I get this great job? Because you want a new job and you want it to be great. So you've written down how really, how did I get this great job? Okay. So there's your question. How did I get, and it's backwards, isn't it? I hate this thing. I got to figure this out. So how did I get this great job? Let me use the other camera. Let me flip it around. All right. So where's the camera flipper here? There it is, right there. All right. So how did I get this great job? And the first thing you can do is, if you want to, is you can start with the vowels. Okay. So you get rid of the O, get rid of both of the I's, all the I's actually. You get rid of the E's. Okay. This, I did that already, great. And the A and the O over here. All right. Then you go through, and anything that's a double letter, you get rid of. So there's two D's because it did. You get rid of that one. And then G, and then T. There's another T, so you get rid of that. And then H, and then S, and then another G, get rid of that. And there's an R, and another T, get rid of that. And a JB. So you end up with H, W, D, G, T. Oops, too many H's. Forgot that one. S, R, J, B. All right, and then you just simply H, W, D, G, T, S, R, J, B. And you get something that looks like that. Now, if you're not using a thick pen, but you're using a thin one, there'll be a lot more space, and you can see that. And you can play with it. And you start to then make a design out of that. And that becomes your sigil. And all you want to do is look at that for a bit, and then charge it, different ways we talked about last time. And then once you've charged it, you can either burn it, or you can just keep it someplace where you see it, but it's not, foremost in your mind. And one of the ways to keep it so that you don't remember what that one stands for, and you don't keep obsessing about it every time you see it, is to do like 6 sigils. All the way from, oh my gosh, what's a simple one? I hope I see so-and-so today. That's a simple one, somebody you wouldn't always see, but you might. I hope it rains today, or something. Some of the simple ones, all the way up to something, like I hope I get this great job, or I hope I get $1,000, or something. Whatever it is, shouldn't be too huge, but incrementally, each one you do should be a little more difficult than the next one until you start to cross them off of your list of what you wanted. But basically, you don't want to obsess with them, but you want to go ding in your subconscious, ding, a few times a day. And so that your subconscious goes to work for you, or your higher self, or the God form, or whatever it is that you're working with. All right, that's one next thing. So the next thing I talked about was weather magic. And weather magic's a lot of fun. You can do things like making it not rain, or making it rain, or dissolving clouds. Now the easiest one to do, to learn, first one that I learned, and it's fairly reliable, is you go outside on a cloudy, you don't have to be outside, I guess. You have to have a day where it's a cloudy sky, not completely overcast, not lots of huge, big, thick clouds, but you want wispy clouds. You want sort of cotton candy clouds. And you find some small ones, something like the size of your thumb when you look at it like that. It takes up that much space, or maybe even this big, okay? But not huge, all right? You don't want a huge one. And just pick it out and stare at the center of the cloud. As much as you can figure out where the center is. I know clouds have irregular shapes, but basically the center of it. And see a little tiny spot of blue. Same blue as the sky behind the cloud, or around the cloud. Just in your mind, imagine that blue dot right there. And just keep imagining it, and let it grow a little tiny bit bigger, and a little tiny bit bigger, but not too big. Just keep imagining. And then if the cloud doesn't zip by because it's moving too fast, I also want clouds that aren't moving fast, then what will happen is you'll get a little tiny bit of blue. And you won't be sure, and then it'll be kind of white again, then it'll be blue again. And then it'll get a little bigger, and just keep doing it, and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger until basically there's no cloud left. And the clouds around it are fine. It's not like they're all doing that. It's the one you picked out, that's the one that is evaporating, or deteriorating, or coming apart, however you want to describe it. I've done that a number of times. It's a lot of fun. You can also, I was doing something with friends one time, and this rainstorm came in, and the skies darkened and started raining. It was heading, we were someplace where you could see for miles, and it was heading towards us. And I was like, oh God, I know these people I'm with. If it rains on them, it's going to be ruin their day, and they'll be all. And I just didn't want to deal with that day. So I basically sent a prayer, if you will, or called forth a God form, and said, didn't make it specific, didn't say Thor, God of thunder and lightning, or any specific, just, reached out to what could change this weather, control this weather right now in these circumstances, and please let the storm go around us. Well, the funny thing was, we were probably 1,000 feet apart from each other. Not even that, maybe 500 feet apart from each other. And the storm came, and it rained right up towards us, on one side of us, on the other side of us, and then past us, and didn't rain on us at all. So it's quite possible. It has to do with you, again. Your mind has to be clear. You have to be focused, succinct about what you want, and you don't necessarily have to make a bargain or anything like that. It's not like you're working with a demon or even an angel. And you just say what you want, state what you want, state it strongly and clearly, and hold to that, and then let it go. Once you've really, really, really charged it with your energy, just put everything you've got into it, and just let it go. And it can do stuff like that. It's rather amazing. Okay, so that's cloud dissolving. All right, invoking and evoking. I brought that up a little bit there. So there is so much written about evoking and invoking. And people's thoughts are all over. Just all over it. It's amazing how much everybody's sure this is the only way. This is the best way. This way won't work. This way will get you in deep trouble with a demon, blah, 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 or an angel or whatever. You have to do it with inside a circle. You shouldn't do it at all. I mean, there's all sorts of opinions. My personal experience with evoking and invoking, I've done more evoking than invoking, is that basically you get a clear picture, again, of what you want. You get a clear as you can picture of who, or what, not who, what you are sending this plea to, and you request their presence to have a conversation with you or to listen to your plea. And it can be small, it can be more like with the weather, it can be big, it can be life-changing. This is a story that I told yesterday. And basically, I was 17 years old. My girlfriend and I were in a car. I had a little Triumph Spitfire convertible. And because I wasn't paying attention, I managed to actually flip the car and roll it. Now, this is a convertible, remember. And seatbelts weren't a big thing then. We had them, but we didn't really wear them. So we didn't have our seatbelts on. And when the two tires on the right lifted up, if you're not a stunt driver, once it lifts up beyond a certain point, it's out of your control. There's nothing you can do. And it's going to flip, and it's a convertible, and you're moving along at a good clip, and you're probably going to die. Chances are really, really high that you're going to die, and the person with you is probably going to die too. And so it flips over. I hear her scream. I hear the sound of breaking glass. My head hits the pavement, and I pass out, or hit something, and I pass out. I wake up a while later. I don't know how long. It's also about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the afternoon in April. So there's still lots of sun in the sky when it flips. I wake up and I hear car doors slamming, people yelling and running on gravel. And I'm like, what the fuck? And what's going on? Okay, I'm alive. That's good. And so I'm like, Gretchen. And she doesn't respond. And I'm poking her, nothing. I'm thinking, oh fuck, she's fucking dead. Great. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's pitch black, but it's the middle of the afternoon. No, there's lots of light. What the? Oh fuck, I'm blind and she's dead. Pardon me, but that's exactly how I felt. And like I get out of the car because the car is going to catch on fire, like I've seen all these movies, and then it's going to explode, and I'm going to die in a fiery death, and I don't want to do that. And so, let's get out of the car, figure out up is above me. Obviously, it's above me, no matter which direction you're in. But, I figure out this way is up. Again, it's kind of silly. And my legs aren't moving. And I'm like, hey, hello, legs, move fast. And there's no movement. So I reach down to grab my leg, thinking, what the hell? And I can feel a leg, somebody's leg in my hand. But I have no sensation at all of hands on my leg. And it's not my girlfriend's leg because our legs are very different, trust me. So I know it's not hers, it's mine. And I'm thinking, okay, I killed my girlfriend, I'm blind, and I am paralyzed from the waist down. And I'm 17. And that's when I stopped. I got very clear and very calm and very centered, very focused, and I had never done any meditation at this point in time. And I just pulled together everything that was me. And I sent all of it out into the universe. And I said, basically, whoever is in charge, with all the force I could muster, with all the energy, I said, whoever is in charge of this situation, I do not want to live the rest of my life like this. This has to change now. And if there's a price to be paid for it, someplace down the line, I am willing to pay that. But this is not okay. And then all of a sudden, I hear, as somebody's opening my car door, because the car is now sitting on its side, and I'm in the driver's side with it, looking up to the passenger side, and light floods in the compartment. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm not blind, this is great. And then I see them drag her body out of the car, and I'm like, oh God, she's gone. And I'm saying I'm still crippled, and I'm pulling myself up out of the car, and because I don't want to again die in a fiery death, and I get myself up out of the car, and I look, and there's no flames, so that's good. I'm not going to die a fiery death. And I turn to look at her, kind of scared to, see a dead body, basically, and she's sitting up with her eyes open, and she's fine. She's got a little tiny cut side of her face. That's it. And I'm like, oh my God, you're alive. Oh my God, I'm so happy. And I'm not blind, and we're not going to die a fiery death. And then, like when your hand's asleep or something, and your foot's asleep. Anyhow, the pins and needles thing start in my legs, and I realized I just struck a nerve somehow, and I put them both to sleep. And I started laughing hysterically. And this one guy said, oh, he's in shock. And I was like, no, I'm not in shock. I'm happy. I'm the happiest maybe I've ever been in my life. Because I thought I was in this hell realm for the rest of my life. I didn't tell him all that. And I wasn't. And even though it didn't feel like heaven, it sure felt like heaven compared to where I thought I was a few minutes before. That was my first conscious evoking. That was the first time I just said, I know there's something out there, and I don't know what it is or who it is. I need your help. Help me. Because this does not work. It has to change. And it did. So that's the first one. I've since then, I've evoked God forms, I've evoked angels for different reasons, sometimes to learn something, sometimes to change something. If you're going to do any evoking at all, be respectful of what you're evoking, whether it's a God form, an angel, a demon, whatever, a dead ancestor, because you're calling it to come forth, to manifest in front of you. And it's like, with some of them, some of the forms that you would be dealing with, some of the entities, you're bothering them, basically. With some of them, you're bothering them, but they're okay with it if you have something to offer. Some of them, they're happy to help, but it's not guaranteed. And with the Fae or the She or whatever you would like to call them, especially in Celtic mythology, their perception is that we're a lower class of beings. And we're really bothering them. You know, it's like in medieval times, if the serf wants something from a lord, you know, it's like, what are you, why? I mean, why should I even talk to you? Who are you? And some of them take an interest of it in us for whatever reason. Some of them like to screw with us. So be very, very respectful and be very careful. Ask only for what you want. Be very specific. Ask only for what you need. If you just like, I don't know, you could, I want to get tickets to a concert. You could do that, I'm sure. But I wouldn't evoke somebody for that. I think maybe something like a pixie maybe or something, but not any type of serious entity, you know, powerful entity. Get a book. There's many of them. And read what that person says about evoking. And if it resonates with you, bingo, then do it. Okay? There's a lot of them, a lot of different books on evoking. There's sort of more modern ones. There's ones that go all the way back to the Seal of Solomon. No, that's not it. What is it called? The Lesser. I don't know. It's been years since I've actually looked at it. But for right now, there's things like you can do Archangels of Magic by Damon Brand. Okay, you can do 7 Occult Money Rituals by Henry Archer. There are a number of them. Some of these are available on Kindle, so that makes it really easy. You know, if you don't want the book to work with. Again, be careful about what you ask for and who you're dealing with. Because there's a famous ceremonial magician named Lon Milo Duquette. I put the picture up of his book called Low Magic. It's all in your head. You just have no idea how big your head is. And he has this great anecdote. There was a time when he's a magician and he's also a musician. And there was a time when he needed a certain amount of money for something, or he wanted a certain amount of money for something. And he evoked a demon and, you know, did what he's supposed to do with ceremonial magic. And then he and his wife and I think his kid went out to, I believe, like a coffee shop or someplace where he was doing a performance. And on the way back, they had a really good night. On the way back, there were fire trucks that they saw heading away from where they lived. And they thought, that's kind of interesting. And then they saw smoke, and they got there, and it was their house. Their house had burned down. Everything they owned was gone. They had insurance, thank God. The insurance check was for, to the penny, the exact amount he had requested from the demon. Demon did it. He said, let's say I need $30,000 by the 13th. By the 13th, or maybe by the 1st, the house burns down. Insurance thing is filed. He gets his check from the insurance company. By the 13th, $30,000. The demon did it. Nobody got hurt. That's usually something you also want to put in there if you're working with demons. Nobody gets hurt. But so be careful. Pay attention to what you're doing. I can't recommend. I would probably work with a God form, and you can work with any of them, because demons basically are something that have evolved out of something totally different, and have now become, basically because of the Christian church and Christianity, and I think to a certain extent Judaism probably, they have become these evil hellspawn beings, which they weren't originally. They were more free-spirited imps, if you will, mischievous, not evil. So, but there are demons even in, if you look in Japanese folklore, Chinese folklore, Hinduism. So, again, careful. Whether or not you're inside a circle when you evoke something, that's your choice. I've done my evoking all but twice on the fly. I've just, like I just told you that story, I just evoked. Invoking is where you're asking another entity, usually a god form, to possess you. That's something that they do in Haitian voodoo, where they call them loa, actually ride people. They call it riding them, and they're possessed. And that's a whole nother thing. And I wouldn't recommend that for most people until you've done a lot of work and you've done a fair amount of evoking, unless you're going to invoke some type of entity that you know is totally benign. Like, I'd feel fairly safe about invoking Tara, because even though she has a wrathful form, that wrathful form only destroys things that aren't good for you. It's not out to destroy you under any circumstances. With others, I'm not so sure. Okay, so that's evoking and invoking. I'm probably not doing exactly what I did last night. I'm probably leaving stuff out, and I apologize for that. Where I want to go next few classes is servitors and thought forms and casting spells. Oh, pathworking. I talked about pathworking a little bit. Okay, pathworking is basically a guided meditation. It can be a live person talking to you, or it can be a recording. I have them on CD. I have some in books if somebody wanted to read it to me, or I wanted to read it to them. It's kind of hard to do a pathworking on yourself by reading it and getting into it, because you really need to be able to sort of fall back into it. I used to be in a writing workshop, wonderful writing workshop with a wonderful teacher, and she did pathworkings. She started every class with almost the exact same pathworking. And what it did was it helped us to release, let go of our editor or critic that would say, no, I can't do that. That's no. And get us to find something and then bring it up and write it down and then share it with the class. And I think it was very, very, very effective. And I've done other pathworkings from a cassette tape, if you can imagine that, long ago, from CDs. There's a bunch of them out there. You can just Google pathworking on YouTube and crap will show up. I used to do pathworkings by somebody named Nikki Scully. I want to say it was Nikiscully. She's a shaman, and she did these shamanic pathworkings that were quite amazing. I was directing a play at one point in time, and I wanted my actors to experience something, because it was about two hang gliders, and they were actually supposed to hang glide during the performance, which of course they couldn't do. And we didn't have a big enough theater or a budget to bring a hang glider in and have them, on ropes and pulleys up in the sky. So, but I wanted them to be able to have, they never hang glided or parachute, and I wanted them to have that feeling as close as I could get it without having them to learn how to hang glide. So she had one that talked about becoming, I think it was an eagle, and soaring, which is what hang gliding is like. You're soaring. And so I had them do that as one of our rehearsals, and then talk about it and how they felt and what happened. And they both got that sense of soaring, and it changed the performance radically. Now when they came on stage and when they got to the part where they were hang gliding, they were hang gliding in the audience's imagination. Whereas before, when they would do it, it'd be like they were play acting. They were pretending, and they were 4 years old or something. It was just, it was silly, it was stupid. But then it became something that was quite believable. So pathworking is wonderful. It has amazing short-term effects, and sometimes it can have really amazing long-term effects. You can, do it, but really want to listen to it, and like I said, fall back into it and go with it. Go with the guided meditation. So path working, spells. Okay, so I think that's it. That's as much as I can remember. I'm glad that Go Ricky is here. That's good. Hi. So that's it. And this time I won't delete it, I promise. Okay. All right. And have a great week, and I will see you next Monday.